Hey, what's up, everyone? Let me tell you about the worst job I've ever had. And no, it's not some boring story about bad tips or annoying customers. This was the kind of job that leaves you with nightmares. Literally. I was just looking for some extra cash. But I ended up in a situation I'll never forget. Trust me, by the end of this story, you'll think twice about taking a job in a small-town diner. So, this was a couple of years ago when I was in college. Money was tight, and I needed something part-time that wouldn't mess with my classes. I found a listing for a late-night waiter position at this diner on the outskirts of town. It was a little sketchy, the place had no website, and the ad was just a piece of paper taped to the window. But hey, they were paying above minimum wage, so I thought, why not? When I showed up for the interview, the manager, this old guy named Hank, barely looked at my resume. He just asked if I could work nights and if I had a strong stomach. I thought he meant dealing with messy tables or cleaning up after drunk customers. I should have asked more questions. Looking back, the way he said it sent chills down my spine. Like he knew something I didn't. My first shift started at 10 p.m. The diner looked like something straight out of the 50s. Red vinyl booths, a jukebox that didn't work, and a neon sign that flickered so much it gave me a headache. The place was dead quiet except for me, Hank, and the cook, a grumpy guy named Pete. Hank gave me the rundown. Take orders, bring food, and whatever you do, don't go out back after midnight. I laughed, thinking it was some weird hazing ritual. But Hank didn't smile. He just stared at me with these tired, bloodshot eyes and said, I mean it. The seriousness in his voice made me pause, but I shrugged it off. What could possibly be out back? First, it was pretty normal. A couple of truckers came in, ordered coffee, and left. Then, around midnight, things got weird. This guy walked in wearing a trench coat and sunglasses. Inside, at night, he didn't say a word, just pointed at the menu. I tried to make small talk, but he ignored me. When I brought him his food, he grabbed my wrist, hard, and whispered, "You should leave before it's too late." I laughed it off, but my stomach dropped. The way he said it, it wasn't a joke. He ate his meal in silence, paid in cash, and left without another word. The air felt heavier after he left, like he'd taken all the warmth out of the room. Not even 5 minutes later, this woman came in. Her clothes were dirty, like she'd been rolling in mud, and her hair was a tangled mess. She kept muttering under her breath, stuff like, "They're watching," and "Don't look into their eyes." She wouldn't sit down, just paced back and forth until Hank came out and asked her to leave. She did, but not before turning to me and saying, "Don't go out back." Her voice was shaky, almost pleading, and it sent chills down my spine. By now, I was seriously creeped out. I wanted to ask Hank what was going on, but he just said, "Keep working. It'll be over soon." Around 2 a.m., I was taking out the trash when I realized I had to go out back. The bins were right by the alley, and I figured it wouldn't hurt to peek. Big mistake. The alley behind the diner was pitch black except for a single flickering light. At first, I didn't see anything unusual, but then I heard it. This low growling noise, like an animal but deeper. I turned around and saw something. It was tall, hunched over, with glowing red eyes. It looked like a person, but its skin was gray and stretched too tight, like it didn't fit right. Its breath came out in short, ragged bursts that sounded almost like a growl. I froze. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then it started walking toward me. Slow, deliberate steps. Its footsteps echoed in the narrow alley, each one making my heart pound harder. My survival instincts kicked in, and I bolted back inside, slamming the door behind me. Hank was standing there, pale as a ghost. "You saw it, didn't you?" he said. I didn't even know what to say. Hank sighed and said, "We don't know what it is. It's been around for years. It only comes out after midnight, and as long as we don't bother it, it doesn't bother us." "Doesn't bother us?" I shouted. That thing was coming straight for me. Hank shook his head. "You're lucky it didn't catch you. Now get back to work and stay inside." I spent the rest of my shift in a terrified daze. I couldn't focus, couldn't stop shaking. Every creak of the floor or gust of wind outside made me jump. When my shift finally ended, Hank handed me an envelope of cash and said, You did good. If you want to come back, you know the rules. The envelope felt heavier than it should have, and when I got home, I realized why. He'd slipped in an extra $100. Almost like he was paying me to forget. Needless to say, I never went back. I quit the next day and found a job flipping burgers at a regular fast food joint. Sure, the pay was worse, but at least I didn't have to deal with whatever that thing was. So yeah, that's the story of the worst waiting job I ever had. If you've got any weird work stories, drop them in the comments. And hey, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.
You